Who the hell can wait till morning? Talk now at latenightsportsradio.com.
The dad look. You tuck the shirt into jeans, and then you have white New Balance shoes.
Yes, and you wear a braided belt. And
God.
Your phone is clipped onto your belt.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we are back. Welcome to Sick Bay. And there are many things you can put in your ears. This is one of them. Claire-Vs-Carlson Show, part of the Late Night Sports Radio Network, latenightsportsradio.com. She is Claire Sniffles Mullins at the Claire 23 NFL Female Podcast. And I'm Andy at Andy Carlson Show, also with the Sniffles. It's kind of weird how Winter does that. Purple for the win, Vikings territory, football convos, all that other good stuff. We can be found on Twitter at Claire-Vs-Carlson, one word, YouTube, iTunes, Facebook, all that other crap. Claire, hi.
Hello, Andy. How's it going?
You sound a little stuffy, and not just the usual
hot, right?
Old money type stuffy as you always come across.
Well, I do come across that way?
Oh, you're like,
Buffy, go ask them to bring the car around, Buffy. No, that's not me. Just sniffly, just all these weather changes and whatnot, but it's cool, it's life. Life goes on, we do things, and yeah.
You're in Kansas right now, right?
Kansas. Topeka, of all places.
How is Topeka?
Let me just tell you, okay, I'm not a landlocked state kind of girl. It's just not what my preference is, and that's fine. I work in landlocked states. It's fine. But it's flat, and it's boring. And then I find, now, I think Kansas City is probably different, but in these smaller semi-metropolitan areas like Topeka and Wichita, people who work in the service industry, I can't find anybody that has a personality or has a little bit of politeness to them.
And by service industry, you mean bartenders, which you've been hanging on like a barfly.
You don't even know. You don't know, Andy.
And besides flat and boring, I mean, why are you talking about yourself in high school?
I wasn't flat in high school. I was an early developer, but we don't need to go into that.
We were talking off air that you should be like 5'8", except you're not. Because when I first started talking to you, do you ever get a picture of a person from their voice in your mind's eye? I pictured you as being like a 5'11" person.
Which would be pretty hot, except for that. I kind of like being 5'4". It's a good height to be. I don't want to be real tall. But I have scoliosis, and so my spine is like twisted, compacted about 4 inches. So I should be 5'8", but really I'm 5'4". So I don't know. It's a good height. I don't want to be taller than everybody. I don't want to have to like try and find guys to date who are not taller than me and uncomfortable about it and whatever. So it makes life a little easier.
Is this why you would never date Craig Biggio, because he's about 5'2"?
Look, he is 49 years old, and he still looks like a 12-year-old boy. And I don't know how that's accomplished. Well, I don't know what skincare products he uses, but you called him Bay Biggio, and I don't find him Bay-alicious or anything because, you know, he looks like a child.
Right. Speaking of Bay, we have Totes, lots of stuff to get to. NFL, a wild card weekend wrapped up. Looking forward to the division. College football national championship coming up, even though it doesn't seem like it. Doesn't seem like there's a ton of fanfare building up to it. We'll get to that. Baseball Hall of Fame was announced, hence the Bay Biggio. We're talking other sports. It's crazy. Baseball, a little bit of NBA. Your Houston Rockets are aight. You should
aight. Full. Recognize.
A full, well-rounded show today, and let's just dive in because we got to go turbo style. First, wild card weekend. 4 beautiful games last weekend. Panthers outlasted the Cardinals 27-16 in the early Saturday game, and I feel really bad for Cardinal fans.
Well,
you start out, were they 10-1, end up 11-5, and their season falls apart when Carson Ballmer goes down?
Well, and their other quarterback and their running game. I mean, they just had a lot of bad luck, and it just happens. You know, it sucks, but it happens, and I kind of feel bad for them because you can't control injuries, but unfortunately, it is what it is.
Do you think it's fair that they had to go as 11-5 wild card to 7-8-1 Carolina?
Well, no, but the system is broken, and I think we all know that.
Oh, it's fair.
Oh, whatever.
Win your division, son. We've had this conversation before. And Ryan Lindley was literally one of the worst quarterbacks I've ever seen. I know he's about the 6th worst playoff quarterback statistics-wise, but just from the eye test, he was horrible. 16-28, 82 yards, 1 touchdown somehow, 2 picks, and a 6.1 QBR, which is hard. That's on a scale of 100.
Yeah, it is hard to accomplish that QBR rating.
And just throwing out the stats, he did not look like a NFL quarterback. It wasn't even close. He wasn't even Tyler Palko.
No, he wasn't very good. Well, he's Ryan Lindley. I mean, no, what did people expect? The fact of the matter is Arizona couldn't get a single thing going on offense. They had 78 total yards of offense, and they made Carolina's defense look outstanding. And maybe they're better than I give them credit for, but their opponent just looked awful. And so, I think the best thing about that game, which I kind of want to make fun of it a little bit, is the way that Cam was running around that stadium when there were about 10 people in the stands, and he did like the loop around the entire stadium after the game like he had just won the Super Bowl, and these 10 fans were there to congratulate him.
That was there. Thank you to the fans, as it's likely
I think that you can do it. I think that you can do it without running around like you just won the Super Bowl, like the confetti's flying.
It's Cam, though.
It's Cam, and that's just funny to me because Cam is kind of douchey.
Oh, wait, no, it is for sure the last game because 2-3.
Right.
Green Bay and Dallas. We'll get that right. But Carolina, 7-8-1. If they win, one of my favorite things is the America's Game documentaries on NFL Network. Have you seen those?
Mm-mm.
All right, so it's just a recap every year of the Super Bowl run.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
and
I know what you're talking about.
If the Panthers somehow, it's not inconceivable, but if they get a win in Seattle, win the NFC title game, win the Super Bowl, could you imagine that America's Game? Just like the Greg Hardy incidents, letting Steve Smith go, having to play him earlier in the season, Cam's car accident, Ron Rivera's house burning down. That's a hell of a story.
It would probably be pretty good. I mean, they got hot at the right time, which is always key, I think, going into a Super Bowl run, getting hot at the right time, and they met a team who got cold at the right time for them. And so the chips sort of fell in a fortunate manner for the Cardinals, and good for them. I mean, that's what you want. You want to set up your team so that when it counts, they can go on a run and tear up the opponents. And that's kind of what they're doing right now.
And you feel bad for Arizona, but they could have drafted Teddy instead of Deion Buchanan. Even though Buchanan, I really like him as a safety. Could have had Teddy. I was like rubbing it in since.
You were rubbing it in about Teddy? Shut up. I don't even believe you.
Teddy B. See, now I'm starting to hate the person that I've become because I'm starting to rub Teddy in other people's faces.
Oh, really? You're starting to hate it too, huh? Okay, just checking.
No, because this is how Packer fans must feel when they're talking about Rodgers.
Yeah.
Even though we'll get to him and the golden calf. Wrapping up the wild cards, Ravens romped the Steelers 30-17. Wasn't even that close. Yeah. Le'Veon Bell did not play. Could have really used him. And what do you think about Bell saying that he wants to play in the Pro Bowl? He was elected to the Pro Bowl, but I think playing in a meaningless exhibition game a couple weeks after your team just got stomped out of the playoffs, no.
That you couldn't play in because you were injured, no. And that you had to basically defer to Ben Tate running the ball and fumbling the ball, yeah.
Oh, that is the Ben Tate Bowl. That was You're My Bull, babe, because we both have ties to Ben Tate. And when he first got the first 2 touches of the game, I was like, oh, my God, this guy, he's going to have 100 all-purpose yards and 2 touchdowns just to troll us.
I would have, well, I was going to say something violent, but no, that would not have been cool at all.
But then he ended up being Ben Tate, and I think he ended up with like 8 yards.
He totally Ben Tated it.
Another run for Hell Flacco and the Ravens. I don't know. We'll see. They go up to New England. I really like their chances this weekend, even though New England has a much better defense than they've had the last couple times they lost to Baltimore. But, yeah, we'll get to all of that at the end of the show. Okay. Sunday's first game was the traditional Bengals first round playoff exit as the Colts toy with them 26-10. Andy Dalton didn't play bad.
No.
He wasn't terrible, except they're missing A.J. Green, Jermaine Gresham, Marvin Jones, Eifert, and pretty much everyone else and their mama, and they just didn't have enough weapons. And Andrew Luck, I love this man.
Oh,
I know you
God.
don't. I know you don't. He is. It's almost hyperbole about how good he is, but
I'm going to murder you.
It's not.
I'm going to cause physical harm to you.
Other side of the coin, Marvin Lewis now 0-6 in the playoffs, including 0-4 in the last 4 years with Dalton.
Mm-hmm.
What? I realize that Cincinnati has been terrible pretty much this entire time, aside from the Steve Wyche years, Sam Wyche, sorry, up to the, is it Steve? Sam. Anyways, before Marvin Lewis, but he's not getting it done. What does Cincinnati do?
I am so unsure because during the season, you'll see those flashes where, oh my gosh, this could happen. But something happens in the postseason, and I know that there were a lot of injuries this year, and you can't control that. But Andy Dalton is unable to take that step to the next level. And yes, he was working with a skeleton crew. But Marvin Lewis seems incapable of preparing his team. I mean, the secondary for the Bengals, what happened to them? Their pass defense coming into that game was pretty darn good, but they fell apart. And they do that. They do it every year in the playoffs. And not just the secondary, but something happens where that team loses it and they cannot get beyond their own mind, in my opinion.
You know, the team is missing.
What?
Mike Zimmer.
Oh.
And then Paul Guenther calling out Geno Atkins after the game, even though Geno did have a pedestrian year after coming off the ACL. Yeah. It's Sam Wyche, by the way. I just triple-checked. But Marvin Lewis, he's a great regular season coach, obviously cannot get done in the playoffs, and Cincinnati's got to ask himself. I know that they're probably not going to fire him because since Mike Brown is so damn cheap. But at what point is good not good enough?
Right.
I mean, Cincinnati, you could frame it that they've made the playoffs the last 4 years, but they're 0-4 in the playoffs the last 4 years. I know that's a great run of success in Cincinnati, except do you really think that Marvin Lewis, Andy Dalton, could you ever realistically see a playoff run with both of them?
The thing is as a fan, you don't want to go back to that below mediocrity level. You are fearful of, well, if we clean house and we, go through 10 years of sub 500 seasons and never seeing the playoffs, Cincinnati's been there. They've done that. That sucks. But is it worse to every year get to the playoffs and be pretty sure going in that you're just going to lose and you're not going to get beyond that? I don't know. I mean, sure is nice to be able to go to a playoff game every year or at least cheer for your team in a playoff game. But when they lose, every time I don't know. It's a hard call. They have a lot of soul searching to do in Cincinnati, in my opinion.
Ooh, speaking of hard calls, Claire, that is a perfect alley-oop setup. That was a Jeremy Lin to James Harden alley-oop. Wait, no.
Ooh,
Lin doesn't play.
Lin?
No, he doesn't play in Houston anymore. Cowboys rally from 14 down to tame the Motor City Kitties 24-20 on a call that is going to be talked about for a while. Anthony Hitchens did not pass interference with Brandon Pettigrew. I'm sorry, I'm all scatterbrained, all his cold meds. But the referees initially called pass interference on Anthony Hitchens on a 3rd and 1. I don't know why Detroit was passing on 3rd and 1. Anyways, they eventually picked up the flag and giving little to no explanation to the television audience. Apparently they explained it to the stadium crowd, but other than that, And after the game, Dean Blandino, head of NFL officiating, said that holding should have been called. It was pass interference, and also the Des Bryant running out of the field with no helmet was okay, apparently. That was apparently a very big sticking point on the whole Twitter machine as it blew up after the call. No doubt saying that, they're handing the Cowboys the game and blah, blah, blah. But in my opinion, that single call did not cost the Lions the game.
Absolutely. I mean, they allowed 2 strip sacks on their quarterback, the Lions did, after that play occurred. And they made some questionable play calls on 4th down where Jason Garrett had the balls to actually go for it on 4th down and, convert. So, you wonder what Jim Caldwell, if he is, I don't know. I saw him in Indianapolis for a few years. I wasn't that impressed with what he did, and I was actually surprised he got another head coaching gig so quickly, given as how good an offensive coordinator he was in Baltimore. It just seems sort of like he's a great offensive coordinator.
Oh, sarcasm.
Well, not great. Okay, pretty good.
Yep.
Offensive coordinator, but I don't know. He doesn't feel like a head coach to me because I question his play calling ability sometimes. Sorry, my computer is loud.
No, it's so funny because no one's giving Jason Garrett credit for that going forward on fourth down. Yes, I know it was like fourth in inches, but whatever. You still went for it. And Detroit, Caldwell, even though you didn't get that call, you could have gone for it on 4th and 1. Your opponent's side of the field, 8 minutes left. You're up 3. And I know that they have that great defense, but if you trust that defense, if they don't get it there on 4th and 1 where they have a chance to basically ice the game, then trust your defense there. Yep. And they don't have the best punter in the world. You probably don't expect Sam Martin to shank a 10-yard punt, but yeah. Also, that great defense did not have to give up a 59-yard touchdown drive to Romo, who looked great on that. Even though Sue got held pretty badly on that fourth down pass to Witten. You know what I mean. And plus, the Lions could have scored at the end. So I don't think they really have any room to whine. And bad calls happen to every single team. A story that Tony Dungy always relays about Chuck Noll, he says that you have to play better than the ref's ref, and the Lions did not on Sunday.
That's the thing. I had a little conspiracy theory discussion on another podcast, and I was like, okay, it's all well and good, even if you make a mistake and you let that mistake get to you, okay, that's one thing. If someone fumbles and the other team scores on that fumble, I can understand that being defeating. But if the officiating is bad and you are a playoff caliber team, you should be able to overcome that and get mad about it. And we're going to show these people we can win despite this crap. Because I don't feel like the Lions were incapable of winning that game. They were capable. And I think they should have won that game, but they didn't have the mental fortitude to get beyond, I don't think, that call.
Plus, why are you throwing it on 3rd and 1?
Why?
To Brandon Pettigrew. Who is terrible.
I know. I don't make the rules here.
Lost in the entire shuffle is that Roma played pretty well.
Yeah, well, what else?
We're getting to our divisional picks because I think something awesome is going to happen early Sunday afternoon.
You do?
Ice Bowl 2.
Oh.
Baby. But that's the wild card wrap-up. We'll be right back with a little bit of baseball, basketball talk. Who knew other sports existed? Story of Brett Smith, a little bit of college football national title game talk, divisional round picks, all that other stuff on a very sniffly Claire-Vs-Carlson Show, BRB.
Millionaires are being made all season long at DraftKings.com, America's favorite one-week fantasy football site.
1 week fantasy means no season-long commitments. Play whenever you want.
Got a player who's hurt? No problem.
Injuries won't derail your shot at victory because it's like a new season every week, so you're never stuck with the same players.
Pick your team in minutes, and you could be on your way to winning huge cash.
This season, one listener turned $10 into $5,000. Another turned $2 into $10,000.
And a new millionaire has been crowned nearly every week this season at DraftKings.com.
You could be next. Imagine winning $1 million in one day just playing fantasy football at DraftKings.
Head over to DraftKings.com now and use promo code SPREAKER to play free in the $10 million Fantasy Football World Championships. DraftKings.com, bigger events, bigger winnings, bigger millionaires. Enter SPREAKER now at DraftKings.com. DraftKings.com, that is DraftKings.com.
And we are back, fresh off of nasal expulsion. I guess all right, we both blew our noses, but back again for segment 2 of a very stuffy Claire versus Carlson show. We got the sniffles.
Yes. Yeah, I just blew so hard, but nothing would come out.
It happens. Speaking of blow so hard, Baseball Hall of Fame voting. And I used to love baseball. I like baseball now, but the Hall of Fame voting and the baseball writers, speaking of stuffy, they are the stuffiest.
They are.
The stuffiest, most holier-than-thou, annoying mofos on the planet. Because Pedro Martinez, surefire Hall of Famer, easily the most dominating pitcher I've ever seen when he was on. And as a very casual baseball fan, take that as you will. But he only gets 91% of the votes. 9% of the 1,000-plus voters left him off the ballot.
But and I can't even remember the names of the players that were cited, but you look at some of the facts that these very unworthy individuals will get homer votes every time. And you're really, I mean, I get you like your team, but it's the Hall of Frickin' Fame.
You got to vote for Aaron Boone because it's Aaron Boone.
Exactly. And you're like, so you really spent one of your votes on this guy who is obviously unworthy because he had something to do with the town that you care about. Yeah. Whatever. It's so dumb.
But if you're living under the rock, Pedro, Randy Johnson, obviously got in, and Craig Biggio get in on the second try, as well as John Smoltz on the first ballot. And, yeah, going back to Pedro, 9% of people left him off. You know why they did that? Just so they could write an article about why I left Pedro Martinez off my Hall of Fame ballot. All the clicks, click. It's really, I'm trying to think of the word. It pisses me off.
Yeah, it pisses me off too.
Term. Because it's sheer pandering for personal gain.
It is. It sure is. So, it's frustrating. Can we not just let this be a professional endeavor and take it seriously?
Yeah, absolutely. And plus, you get the old crusty writers who will intentionally not vote for a surefire Hall of Famer. Like Tom Seaver only got about 98% of the votes, or 98.2, something like that. And their entire reason is, well, Babe Ruth wasn't unanimous Hall of Famer, so this guy's not going to be, not on my watch.
Yep. It's just funny the power that people think that they are afforded with their vote.
Yeah, and there's just too many voters, and
yeah,
I don't know. It's hard. It's a tough discussion because I don't think there's a perfect voting method. I think the NFL is closer in that the fact they get all the voters into a room and it's an actual discussion, debate that goes back and forth, not just secret ballot, boom, press it, and on your way. But I also don't like that NFL has a set number of people that have to get in or can get in a certain year. But I guess nothing's really perfect, and this shouldn't be Hall of Fame shouldn't be political. It should be an homage to the beautiful sport that it is, because it's a museum. It's not an office of the President of the United States. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like people forget that they receive, the voters in particular, what they receive from the sport. The fact that the sport exists and that they are pretty much addicted to the sport, and they politicize the process of recognizing the most important players in that sport. It loses focus of the whole fact that it's entertainment. It is something that you depend upon to make you happy, and yet you're turning it into, you're bastardizing it. People are bastardizing the situation, and it makes me angry.
Not on my watch. The one thing I do really like about the Pro Football Hall of Fame voting is that they're instructed to only care about on-the-field issues, whereas baseball, it's the entire opposite. And Mike Piazza, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens did not get in yet again. Jeff Bagwell as well. He's never tested positive, but there's always been the cloud of doubt about players of that era. And I think it's a real shame. I think Jeff Bagwell should probably be in. And these other guys, there's no proof for a number of them. It's all conjecture.
Exactly it. you're assuming that happened.
Yeah, reasonable doubt, sure, but absolute proof or a confession on most of these guys, no, you're playing jury in that case.
Absolutely. And it's like NFL officials deciding intent. Mm. You don't know that person's intent. You can't get inside their mind. You didn't see anything happen. So how can you know for sure that is what happened? You may suspect it all day long, but until you have proof, who are you to make that call?
Yeah. Curt Schilling also did not get into the Hall of Fame, but did you buy his comments at all, saying that John Smoltz only got in because he's a Democrat? I know he said it jokingly, but the best part is that John Smoltz is actually Republican.
Oh, is he? I didn't know.
And Curt Schilling is, of course, very outspoken about his political beliefs and also his theories about evolution. And I don't know. It was typical Curt Schilling, just blowhardedness, and it's quasi-endearing because it gives people something to talk about, but it's also a little annoying, and he's extremely aloof.
Yeah. Yeah, he can just really shut up sometimes, because even when he's joking, it's always going to be taken out of context, because Republicans joking just doesn't really go over well usually.
You mean old rich white men joking?
Right.
Well, he might not be rich anymore because of that video game venture that failed pretty badly.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, too bad.
Speaking of not failing badly, $1 million appraisal on Antiques Roadshow. An older lady brought in some photographic cards of the 1871 to 1872 Boston Red Stockings into Antiques Roadshow, and they appraised it. They told her to get insured for $1 million, baby. That's exciting.
That is exciting. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, finding something like, it's like winning, well, a very lower level lottery, but you just get a bunch of money. So that's pretty cool. Good for her.
It was her, I believe it was her grandfather's or great-grandfather's pictures. Mm-hmm. Just had them in a drawer. And
well, yeah. On the story it said that her great-great-grandmother or something had a boarding house, and that's where the Boston Red Stockings would stay. And she had all those cards from them back there in the late 19th century. So yeah, you have these 100-and-something-year-old cards that are of one of the very early baseball teams in America, and you get a bunch of money for it. Good for you, old lady.
Now, the Boston Red Stockings, did they eventually become the Boston Red Sox? That's a bit of a stretch, isn't it?
I think so. I don't know.
Who knows? Man, now that makes me feel bad that I, like many a child, threw away their baseball cards. Or their parents or their significant others threw away their baseball cards. Because I had a lot. And baseball cards used to be worth a lot back in the day, or at least we thought, and then the market fell out for some reason. I don't really know about all the economics of that, but I remember getting a new copy of Beckett, and I'm looking up all my cards, and that's worth X number of dollars. Yeah, and then it's like, okay.
Oh, forget. Yeah, they're gone. So yeah, I'm like that with my parents' record collection, but it's whatever. It's
oh my God, you would.
But it's true.
You would be a vinyl head.
I'm not a vinyl head. I don't actually own a record player or anything like that. But I mean, you think back to the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band cover, and the awesomeness of that, and the fact that I don't know what it's worth or if it's worth a thing, but it's just cool that you've had it and now it's gone somewhere and probably melted in a storage unit you don't even know exists.
If you play Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band backwards, it says that Elvis is dead.
Oh. That's what it says.
Happy 80th birthday to Elvis yesterday, by the way, because he's still alive.
Yeah, somewhere eating marshmallow and peanut butter sandwiches.
Speaking of awesome sandwiches, the Atlanta Hawks had Tinder night this week, and there was probably a couple sandwiches after that. And it's a very straightforward promotion. They had a Tinder lounge, or what they called the Love Lounge, and people showed up, and it was a giant Tinder fest. Now, what do you think about this? Would you attend?
No, but I don't do Tinder.
You don't?
No, I don't even like the idea of it.
Really, Claire? E2? You just swiping left on Tinder?
I don't like the idea. Right? Yeah. I don't know. I've never used it. I mean, I know that what it is and that it exists, and I have tons of friends who have used Tinder, but the idea, I'm not that type of person. I'm just not. I have to have some sort of mental connection with somebody to want to spend time with them, period. So, yeah, I'm not just going to look at someone and say, oh, yeah, I want to go hook up with him tonight. Click, are you available, whatever it is. So I'm not interested. But
is it a little creepy, though, since it works off of GPS and then you get all these profiles that are near you, and then you're looking at these pictures and these people are near you? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So if you get all creepy photos, I can't imagine, because I'm sure good-looking younger women who use this app, so it's the complete opposite of myself. Well, I'm quasi-young, but you know what I mean. And then you get a whole bunch of creepy-looking-ass men in your Tinder, and then you're like, oh, left. Oh, my God, all these people are near me? Hello?
It's a little creepy.
Yeah. And, you know, they should have had STD awareness night in Atlanta the night before.
They really should. Yeah. There's a lot in society that encourages very unhealthy behavior, and so I don't really like being a part of it.
It's a really awesome idea, and it got people in to watch the Hawks. The Hawks are playing well, even though Atlanta's not really a very good pro sports town, let's be honest.
Right.
And, yeah, I'm kind of hoping the Timberwolves would do something like that, except we'd all have to do farmersonly.com, which is an actual site.
It is an actual
site.
It's real.
Boom. Speaking of the Wolves, my Wolves lost 13 straight. We suck, just like the Knicks. But a team that does not suck, your Rockets. Go.
They're pretty actually good. I mean, when you look at the individual contributions for the Rockets, we have the league leading scorer in the NBA, and James Harden, who has been James Harden?
Who?
Has been amazing to watch.
No, I'm just kidding. Could you imagine if the Thunder were able to hold on to him?
I'm glad they didn't.
Oh, yeah.
He belongs, and he doesn't need to be second string, third string to Westbrook and KD. He's good enough to be the leader of a team, and so I think he finds himself in a much better situation in Houston. Personally.
Now, how's the whole Dwight Howard thing working out? 'Cause since he has a reputation as a coach killer, although McHale just got extended down there, right?
Yep, he sure did, and to the consternation of many fans. But whatever.
Really?
He doesn't call. He seems very lost in those end of game situations where you have to decide things that determine the outcome of games. Because essentially basketball games aren't really over in a tight game until the last 2 minutes.
Which take about half an hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I don't know. And then you have the fourth leading field goal percentage guy in Dwight Howard. And then you have the fifth leading shot blocker in the NBA in Trevor Ariza. I mean, steals, sorry. He's fifth in steals in Trevor Ariza. So you've got some really strong components of the team. They need to kind of get it together, but they have had a lot of turnover recently, added a lot of key parts to the situation, and want to see how things turn out.
And I'm very familiar with Kevin McHale. I think he's a much better executive than he is coach, but I guess good luck to you guys. Speaking of good luck, the Cavs are trying to catch a little good luck as they're 19-7, second in the Central, 6 games behind the Red Hot Bulls, and they're kind of panicking. David Blatt doesn't really have the locker room. LeBron's been out with injuries off and on. Kevin Love really hasn't found a role yet. They just traded Deion Waiters for Shumpert, J.R. Smith, and then they just traded for some Russian dude, apparently, who has a bunch of ties with Blatt, who I can't even pronounce his name. Is it Timabe? Timabe? Anyways, coming into the season as the odds-on favorite to win the championship, and they are struggling. And it might be time to it's definitely time to panic, as they're currently the 5th seed in the East, and I don't know.
I don't know either. I mean, you look at the Cavs, and I think, though, going into it, you're like, hey, just because you added LeBron and you added Love, it doesn't mean automatically you are going to be a championship caliber team. Now, in the East, I think they're definitely a playoff team. But it's going to take more than a third of a season for that team to gel and become what it has the potential to be in the future.
I agree. I just looked at the standings. I've tried not to because the Wolves are so bad, but Second worst record in the league, 5-29, 147 winning percentage, only behind the Knicks, who are 5-34. So come on, lottery. Come on.
Tanking for whoever the hot guy, Montrezl. I know it's a silent L, but I think it's hilarious that he has an L. The guy from Louisville.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's funny.
Speaking of hot guy, Steve Ballmer. Did you see this? Dancing.
Oh, my God. He was
Fergie.
inflatable arm guy from Family Guy.
Wacky wild inflatable two-arm guy. That was Steve Ballmer. It was.
It was. It was pretty funny.
Fergie, for some reason, performed at the halftime of the Clippers game, and then Steve Ballmer absolutely lost his mind. Now, do you buy the conspiracy theory at all that this was intended to go viral?
I wouldn't put it past him. I mean, well, okay, the arms were one thing, but in a couple of those clips, you see him wagging his tongue like he's a fundamental Christian who is speaking in tongues or something. It was just like his tongue is out of his mouth and flapping in the air. It almost had to be fake. Who does that?
Steve Ballmer, a guy who's worth $2 billion plus $10 billion plus is.
Oh, well, I guess so.
He can do whatever he wants.
You can.
He can tuck his shirt into jeans.
Well, he's allowed to. It doesn't mean that it should be done.
Now, do you ever notice that? I don't know if it's like this down there, but the dad look. You tuck the shirt into jeans, and then you have white New Balance shoes.
Yes, and you wear a braided belt. And
God!
Your phone is clipped onto your belt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, it's even better if it's a flip phone.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, dads are a thing.
All right, and just plowing through a couple of these other fun stories, just like Claire plows through Tinder. J.J. Watt, Bay, and Totes. What is your take?
Come on, man. He has to know. I think he plays his whole naive act up for the audience. My personal opinion. But we all know how I feel about J.J. Watt, so it is what it is.
Totes.
Totes and Bay. What is that?
Now, do you think he plays up the old man, get off my lawn as that's part of his persona now? Or do you think that's how he actually is?
I think he's actually old man, get off my lawn, but I think that he knows what popular sayings are. You know, I just don't find him to probably live in a cave.
Well, in the locker room, you got to think that Totes and Bay gets thrown around, even if tongue-in-cheek, right?
You would think.
Yeah.
He's with young people. He's 25 years old, or 24 years old, for God's sake. 25. I mean, surely he doesn't live in a cave. Come on.
And plus, you're not telling me that in meeting rooms, Clowney ain't dropping bays all left and right.
You know Clowney is all about the Bay.
Although Clowney's probably...
Bay O'Brien.
Clowney's probably in the training room, not in the film room. Sads.
Probably. He's in the cold tub.
Speaking of cold tubs, you're going to have to hop in one after reading some Gronk Erotica. Apparently there is a book written by, trying to get the name here. It doesn't matter. But it's called A Gronk to Remember, Book 1 in the Rob Gronkowski Erotica series. It depicts a bored housewife who is immediately driven to start masturbating upon seeing this, which is Rob Gronkowski gyrating, and this is from the Deadspin write-up. I really thought that this was like an Onion story when it first came out, but I looked on Amazon, and it's legit. Apparently someone wrote a novel with Rob Gronkowski.
She claims that it was a work of satire. So, okay. If you say so, lady.
And they actually had to take it down because of the cover art. Apparently, they just jacked some engagement photos of some random couple in Ohio without them giving permission or knowing. Also, the photo of Gronk had the Myra Kraft, the MHK logo on it, and that's not a good look either. And so it's pulled. So apparently, Gronk to Remember by Lacey Noonan is on hold for now, but we'll see. Now I have to read it.
Well, yeah. Well, it's only 39 pages, so it's not like it's... Well, and it's about Rob Gronkowski. I mean, how mentally strenuous could it be? Go ahead. Go for it. I think you can handle it.
Yeah, I think it's Gronk level reading.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Music City Miracle anniversary occurred on Thursday, and
You cracked me up.
Titans. The poor Tennessee Titans were live tweeting the replay of the Music City Miracle game on NFL Network yesterday, and it was. This is what number 3 overall pick looks like.
Yeah. You said you retweeted it. You're like, oh, so this is what rock bottom is. Okay.
I feel so bad for Tennessee fans because they did have an okay run there for a while with Fisher where they were going to AFC title games. And, of course, they had that Super Bowl against the Rams where they came up a yard short. Mike Jones.
Let's be honest. They wouldn't even have a team if it wasn't for one Bud Adams.
Yes.
Being a brat.
I realize that this is a sore subject for you as well, but it always feels like they're either destined to go 8-8 if everything goes well or completely implode like they did this season.
Yeah. They're just not very good.
Yeah. Poor Tennessee Titans. And that was a forward lateral.
Well. Don't make the rules here.
Now, my favorite thing from watching the replay is the look of Wade Phillips on the sidelines, where he just looks so.
Yeah.
It's a mix of pissed off and also completely dejected and deflated.
Yeah, he looks sad. But Wade Phillips let's be honest, he's pretty good at looking sad.
Son of a bum. Oh, might get back into the hopper, defensive coordinator of Washington. Apparently, we'll see.
Well, someone was excited about it the other day, and I was like, oh, you'll be excited for about a year because that's what he does every place he goes.
Son of bum. And just wrapping up with a completely off-the-wall story, Tim Jennings, Bears cornerback, busted for DUI, apparently on his way to parent-teacher conferences. Now, is this good parenting or bad parenting? Because you can argue that it's good that he's making it to his kids' parent-teacher conferences no matter what. Or you could be like, you're driving drunk on your way to parent-teacher conferences. So what say you?
Well, it's bad. I mean, it's kind of your responsibility as a parent to go to parent-teacher conferences. So, if you go and you happen to be drunk enough to get a DUI on the way, probably bad. I'm going with that.
Yeah, it's probably bad, but at least it's refreshing. As that's a new excuse. Actually, DUIs are obviously we take DUIs very seriously here, and they're not very funny to talk about. But the new excuse was pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know. What was the excuse?
That's the way to parent-teacher conferences.
Oh, that was the excuse?
Yes.
Oh, whatevs.
Claire's out of her mind. We're going to go pop some cold pills. We'll BRB with all football the rest of the way. College football national title game, divisional round picks, all that other good stuff. Ooh, and also the 8 remaining quarterbacks list of who we would trust most to win these final 3 games to bring home the Lombardi for our team. Claire-Vs-Carlson Show, BRB.
Hello?
For daily conversations with the players, coaches and contributors that make this game great.
Regulators, mount up! We're coming!
Football Convos. Visit footballconvos.com or visit us at iTunes.
And back for the last segment of this week's Stuffy, all up in her version of the Claire-Vs-Carlson Show. And it's all football the rest of the way. First, I wanted to lead off with a little cautionary tale, as it were. And Robert Klemko of the MMQB had a very nice story this week about Brett Smith. And if you don't know the name, besides that's very pedestrian, but Wyoming quarterback last year decided to forego his senior season to enter the NFL draft after the draft advisory board gave him a 4th, 7th round grade. And then all the mock drafts, everyone and their mother, Brett Smith was the eye of draft Twitter. Everyone loved him, compared him to a poor man's Johnny Manziel coming out in the draft last year. Not so much. Some of the mock drafts, I remember having him as a 3rd round pick, which in hindsight is kind of ridiculous. Was not drafted, was not even invited to the combine, which is the top 335 prospects, which is ridiculous because if you see mock drafts putting you as a 3rd round pick, the NFL draft advisory board saying you're going to go in the 4th, 7th round, which is 256 picks, and you're not even in the top 335 considered to go to the combine, it's a bit of a problem. Was not drafted, had a couple workouts, one with the Bucks where he was just a camp arm, went to the CFL, was 6th string there, did not make it, and now he's going to try it in the Arena League. And kids got to be careful. Yes, I understand that it is ultimately their decision and theirs alone, but people pumping out some bad information because, we talked about this off air. Everyone and their mother is an NFL draft expert nowadays. And I understand the passion for it. It is a very exciting event, but a lot of these guys are not qualified. There is a very small handful of people who put in the work, grind the actual film, and I really respect their opinion. Yeah, Matt Miller and a couple of other notables as well. You know who you are. But some of these other guys who write for even quasi-reputable websites, ones that get tons of traffic, they watch a couple of YouTube videos, write up a mock draft, and boom, there it is. It looks quasi-legit. And if you're in the shoes of the kid who's thinking about going pro, thinking about leaving their school, leaving their opportunity to develop in the college game, and they see that, and it's like if you want to make one decision and then you ignore all the other contrary evidence, but you just focus on that one piece, they'll see that mock draft and be like, oh, I'm going to be a 3rd round pick. Bye, Felicia. Yep. I'm out of here.
Right.
Whereas the person putting together that mock draft is not qualified. They didn't do the work. They haven't done the legwork. They don't have the expertise to make a valid judgment. Otherwise, you'd think they'd be working in the NFL scouting department, right?
Right. And it's really detrimental because in the basically the headline of that story that you cited, 37 college underclassmen who declared for the NFL draft in 2014 weren't selected. So, it doesn't go on to say how many became undrafted free agents, and your chances of making a team are very low as a UDFA, but it's a very cautionary tale, as you say.
And again, I have tons of respect for the guys who actually do the work, actually grind the tape, but there is way more of the irrational rubes out there than the actual people who are qualified to do this. Like right now, I could throw together a mock draft, put it out there, and then some kid might see that and be like, oh, and take that as gospel, even though I am vastly underqualified to put together a mock draft, to be honest. And even the experts get it wrong. Like, take 2 years ago, our 2013 draft, the first mock draft that Mel Kiper put out had something called DeMontre Moore as the number 1 overall pick. Now, you're very familiar with him because he's a defensive end out of Texas A&M. But come draft time, he ended up going 3rd round, 81st overall. So, number 1, 81st overall, I don't know.
Right.
Seems to be a big gap.
Well, we can get into a whole show on this, but I've read a book and I've talked to a few people about how convoluted draft coverage is, and there's involvement from agents, hype this guy, yada, yada, yada. We need him to go earlier than teams are projecting him to go, that sort of thing. So I think there's probably some underhanded seediness going on in the coverage of who these purported draft experts say are going to be first-round picks.
Everyone's got an opinion, except that's exactly what they are, opinions. Yes. Moving on to some happier stuff. College football national title game. It's really sneaking up on us.
Urban Meyer would.
Urban Meyer would what?
No, so My Twitter circles, when you see a hot person, you kind of say would, as in you would, you know.
Oh, I get you. So you
Would, Urban Meyer.
Would you give Urban Meyer a heart attack because he's predisposed?
Probably.
So,
probably accidentally.
but we say sneak up because I feel like there hasn't been a ton of hype, which is really odd coming up to a national title game of the very first college football playoff. But it really seems like the whole hype has been kind of dissipated. I get that the two underdogs won, Ohio State the 4 seed, Oregon the 2 seed. Wait, no. But you know what I mean. Oregon the 2 seed, Ohio State the 4 seed. And I don't know. It feels like there hasn't been the hype around this heavyweight title fight that's coming up on Monday.
You know, I think that I think that ESPN and its ilk have become such gospel, and the fact that this is occurring now when the playoffs are occurring, because before it was pretty much done by the time the playoffs started. Mm-hmm. Now they're overlapping, and I think that takes away a lot of the shine from the college scene.
Yeah, I agree, but overall it's going to be a really good game. I adopted Oregon because I have way too many Ohio State fans on my timeline, and they're a little annoying. They're not quite Florida State where they get full of themselves, but when they're rolling, they're a little insufferable. And I don't know. I've found Oregon fans to be like that, although they're in the Northwest, so maybe they have a little Seahawk fan in them. I don't know. We'll see.
But Oregon, I think that they are an elite college team. I think they are the elite college team, and they're fun to watch. And Marcus Mariota is ridiculous. And yeah, I mean, you just kind of want them to win. At least I do. I agree with you. I want them to win as well.
Has the opportunity to back up his Heisman, win the national title, and really light it up and help his draft stock against a pretty solid defense. He looked pretty good against Florida State. Not great.
Right.
We talked about this last week. I think Winston made a couple of better NFL-type throws, but Mariota, chance to shine because Jameis ain't playing this week. Hello.
Yeah, well, that's cool. I like it. I mean, and he just declared for the draft, and then the lady who had accused him came back, and she's now filed a civil suit against Florida State, and I'm wondering how long since he's declared. Someone made a good comment, a lawyer that I follow on Twitter, that the reason it's taken Jameis Winston a little bit, a few extra days to determine is if he was going to declare is because he wanted to figure out his liability, I guess, would not be the right word, but it's close to where I can think of. His liability should the accuser try to file a civil suit on his NFL earnings.
He's trying to watch his money.
Mm-hmm.
See, I think that might have been one of the reasons that he would just come back for the next 2 years of his eligibility just to troll everyone.
You never know.
You never know. We recapped the semifinal games last week, but looking forward to the championship game. Who you got?
Oregon.
I'm going to take Oregon as well. Speaking of declaring for the draft, something that I didn't really think about, because I thought that Cardale Jones being a third-string quarterback was like a redshirt freshman or something like that. He's redshirt sophomore, so he could declare for the draft if he wanted to. And I had Ted Glover, who's a huge Buckeye fan, on the Purple for Them podcast the other day, and he pointed out that there's been some scuttlebutt around Ohio State circles that Cardale Jones, if he has a good showing in the national title game, win, lose, or draw, might just jump to the NFL. Since Cardale Jones put out that infamous tweet, we play football, don't go to class, all that other good stuff. And it comes from a poor background, we'll just call it that. And heck, if he can be guaranteed to be a third or fourth round pick legitly, why not? And avoid that whole mess next year with Braxton Miller potentially coming back, JT Barrett getting healthy and coming back. Why not? I mean, if you have only 3 college games under your belt, but there are these 3 games of the 3 biggest games of anyone's college football career, why not jump? Just do it. Because he's 6'5", a big arm, raw talent, but people can work with that, right?
I think so. I mean, I don't really have anything to add to that. I think you said it all. It's a possibility, and yeah.
Ooh, Houston Texans, third-round pick, Cardale Jones.
Oh.
Would you be on board?
Oh, if we're taking an unproven quarterback in the third round or later, I could probably trust in the structure of the organization that he has something.
Jones and Savage battling it out.
Oh.
Come on.
Mallet is the starter, though, right?
Is he going to resign in Houston?
Yeah.
Big Tex?
He's gonna be back. No, he's stupid. He is dumb as a stump. I tell you that. But
he's a rapper.
Well, yeah, he's a something.
He's an MC. All right, so moving on from Mallet and Savage, let's talk about quarterbacks that we actually do trust. 8 quarterbacks remain in the playoffs, and right now, given everything,
yes,
we came up with a list of 1 through 8 who we trust right now to win us these next 3 games, get us the Super Bowl. Now, it's completely in a vacuum. Quarterback, current health, current age, current state right now. So that includes Aaron Rodgers' injury. Take that in mind.
Mm-hmm.
And the team is irrelevant. Like, we're not picking a specific team with specific attributes, just the quarterbacks in a vacuum of 1 through 8 who we trust right now. And would you like to go first, or should I go first?
I'd like to hear yours, please, because yours sounds like you put a lot of thought and effort into this.
So and by a lot of thought and effort, you mean a lot of hot takes. So, number 1, Andrew Jerome Luck.
Really?
I know he's never been to the Super Bowl, but he's...
You want to run your fingers through his neck beard, don't you?
I do. I think he's got all the attributes. He got the leadership. He can put a team on his back, as he's shown in Indianapolis. I really think that this is going to be the year that makes a run, possibly to the Super Bowl, if not win it outright. So number 1, Andrew Luck. Number 2, old warhorse, Tom Brady.
Okay.
And been there, done that, got the T-shirt, and he was a little bit happy feet early on in the season, but he's completely recovered. And I will roll with Tom Brady until the wheels fall off, kind of like Peyton Manning. But we'll get to him down the list. A little bit far down the list, you know what I mean? Number 3, a guy who just did it last year, Russell Wilson. Mm-hmm. And I think his leadership, we talked about all of that, his ability to play within himself in the offense is vastly underrated, and I would trust him to get it done. Number 4, Joseph Unibrow Flacco. I know he doesn't have a unibrow. It doesn't look like he should have a unibrow.
He should. He waxes it. I think his wife has basically said, wax it or else.
2 years ago, been there, done that, and also there's just something about him. He has this great track record of playoff wins. When the weather gets cold, he's got that huge arm that can power through any sort of weather. And he's not a great regular season quarterback, that's for sure, but he just seems to get it done. He just has a weird Eli Manning-esqueness to him, where when it's crunch time, he just trusts him and let it go. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
Other side of the coin, person who doesn't have a very good track record in the playoffs. Number 5, but he's my pick, Tony Romo. And we're talking about playing within himself and some of these other quarterbacks this year. You have to credit the Dallas offensive line and DeMarco Murray, but when Romo doesn't feel like he has to do everything, he's a great quarterback.
Yep.
He's elite. Yes, bro. So I have Tony Romo ahead of Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Cam Newton. And the final 6 through 8, Peyton Manning, number 6, it's over. The arm strength, he never had a cannon, but now it's like he's underhanding a ball out there. It's like the trajectory literally looks like he's throwing it underhand on some of the passes. And it is accurate, it is on point, but cold weather, he's like the antithesis of Flacco, where you have to have the strong arm to power through some of these passes in bad weather, and Peyton doesn't have anymore. It's
right.
I think this might be his last year, win, lose, or otherwise, and I really think it might be lose. I think luck is going to give the Broncos a game this weekend. Number 7, like we said, completely as is, Aaron Rodgers. Who knows if he's even going to play, or if he plays, how well does he play with that calf? And I know I made light about it with the whole Sue Stop thing. I know he was injured beforehand, but apparently this is starting to look serious. Or perhaps it's Green Bay trying to put every single excuse out there why they're going to lose to Dallas on Sunday, which they are.
That's what I thought too.
Which they is.
Oh, okay.
Or they're just trying to build on the Aaron Rodgers mythology. Look at him limping out there like Willis Reed. So, I don't know. That's why Rodgers is so low. Obviously, if healthy, Rodgers probably number 2. I think I'd still take Andrew Luck, but, you know. And number 8 is Cam Newton because it's Cam Newton.
Fair enough.
Boom.
I like your list, except for number 1. I don't know. Andrew Luck makes good plays, but there are times where he tries to get his receivers killed. There are times where he gets quite lucky. And I just feel like, I don't know. He's everybody's baby, but I don't know.
This sounds like an NFC or an AFC South fan's point of view.
Probably. But I've seen a lot of games. That's the thing, is I've watched a lot of Colts games. And yes, he makes amazing throws. He can make amazing throws. There are times that the ball would not be complete if he didn't have some things fall his way. And there are times where he does have the second highest turnover rate in the NFL, that sort of thing too.
Well, he's kind of like Romo early on, where they put everything on him on that offense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know.
Like, if you could give Andrew Luck a power running game, who's not Trent Richardson, like they had at Stanford, he would be that much better, don't you think?
Probably. He would probably be a lot better if he had a running game.
Adrian Peterson with Andrew Luck.
Oh
my God. Oh, my goodness.
That
would just warm the cockles of a Houston Texans heart.
I probably... No, I can't say. I can't say the violent things I want to say.
All right, so let's run through your list, or at least the top of it. Who would you trust most in the playoffs?
Oh, gosh. Probably Tom Brady.
Thomas, Jerome, Brady. Handsome man.
Whatever.
Just gets it done.
He does just get it done. And then Flacco, too. In the playoffs.
Yeah, that's so weird. Now, would you rather be a phenomenal regular season quarterback like Peyton Manning, or just have this knack of getting hot if your team gets to the playoffs like Joe Flacco? Because the Ravens barely made it in.
Well, and they were in a very tough division. I mean, all those teams at one point or another could have been in the playoffs. So, and they did have 3 teams that went to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. So, but you're really looking at, do you want the records or do you want the Lombardi? And I'm going to go with the Lombardi every time.
Poor Peyton.
Just
going to have to rest on his laurels and all of his millions of advertising dollars and chicken parms because they taste so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that. All right, let's get to some games. Divisional round weekend is my favorite NFL weekend in the entire season. I don't know if you feel the same way, but you get 4 games over the 2 days, the top 4 seeds from the regular seasons, and 4 teams that have already won a playoff game. It's gorgeous. Oh, divisional round. Did you know that Peyton Manning used to play for the Colts?
No, really?
I don't know if you know that.
Never heard it before.
All right, but let's run through these games real quick and get some picks in as well. The first one on NBC is the 6 seed Ravens going up to number 1 seeded New England up at Foxborough. Ravens somehow come in as 7-point dogs, but who you got?
I have the Ravens. I think they're in the Patriots' head.
Now, the Ravens, Suggs and Ray Lewis, Ed Reed way back in the day, always seem to have success against New England. I know they won a couple playoff games up there, but I think New England, they're starting to get back to the old ways, how they won all those Super Bowls with a better defense, and they're bringing that forward. It's going to be a hell of a game. I'm really excited for it, but Flacco and Brady are the 2 quarterbacks you trust most. I think Brady does get it done, and I think they get it done on the ground. I think that one of the Patriots running backs is going to have a breakout game. I don't know if it's going to be Bolden or if it's going to be who, but someone's going to bust out. And your Bay. But It's going to be a close game. I'll take the Ravens and the points either way. Second game on Saturday night is the 4-seeded Panthers, 11-point dogs going up to number 1 seeded Seattle. How do you pronounce this? The Seahawks?
Seahawks?
Yeah, something like that. What do you think happens in the seemingly one-sided affair, Claire?
I don't see the Panthers' offense being able to overcome Seattle's defense. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think Carolina's magic carpet ride finally runs out. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I do think it'll be a low-scoring, kind of ugly game, but I wouldn't be surprised if Beast Quick 3 goes off. Russell Wilson is going to obviously have a very solid within-himself game, and I think Seattle gets it done. And moving on to the NFC title game at home, which is going to be tough for whoever wins, Cowboys and Packers, which is the first game on Sunday. It's kind of nice that they put it in the afternoon because it's supposed to be about negative 21 degrees in Green Bay that day. Ice Bowl rematch, baby, as the number 3 Cowboys, 6-point dogs go into Green Bay, the number 2 seed, with or without Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. This is going to be interesting to watch. I'm going to watch this game. I don't know about you.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be fun. It's going to be compelling. I think that Aaron Rodgers makes a huge difference, of course, but I think they're still able to get it done at home versus the Cowboys. I don't know. I just feel like their team is it's scary to say this because Green Bay's defense can be so questionable at times. I just feel like their team is more well-rounded than the Cowboys, and I know that's crazy to say because the Cowboys' running game, but their offensive line, Cowboys' offensive line showed a lot of weaknesses last week, and I don't know. I just feel like Green Bay at home in the frozen tundra in the postseason where they're comfortable being, I think they get it done against the Cowboys.
Yeah, Detroit got after the Dallas offensive line last week, except I think that's more of a function of Sue and Terrell Lawson being a great defensive coordinator. I really think the Cowboys are going to run roughshod on the Packers. DeMarco Murray is going to put up about 200 yards rushing. Aaron Rodgers might be ineffective, hampered by that calf, and I think Tony Romo, DeMarco Murray, Jason Garrett, and more importantly, Jerry Jones and Chris Christie get a W at Lambeau and the round at Seattle, where they won earlier in the season, baby.
All right, fair enough. Let's do it. Let's do it.
And the last game on Sunday, the 3-seeded Colts, 7-point dogs going up to the 2-seeded Broncos. And we mentioned this earlier, but Peyton Manning, he used to play for the Colts.
Maybe once he did, I think, right?
Yeah, wah. But in this game, I'll just put it out there. I'm calling it. Just like I called the Cowboys beating the Packers, the Colts will beat the Broncos.
Okay.
And Peyton Manning is going to watch the AFC Championship game from home. That was a little wordy, but you got the gist.
I got the gist. It was actually quite cute. My hope for all this, and it contradicts what I think is going to happen, is that the Colts go into New England and Tom Brady rips out Andrew Luck's heart on TV for everyone to see next week. But I do think that the team around Peyton Manning can help them overcome what Peyton seems to have lost at home in the playoffs. They're probably seeing it's getting to the end for Peyton. That's their guy. Whereas the Colts simply have Andrew Luck and some receivers.
Yeah, the Broncos' defense is way better than the Super Bowl team last year. Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware are ridiculous. But I think the Colts' defense is going to make a concerted effort to shut down the Broncos' running game, the newfound running game, almost a necessity running game. C.J. Anderson, Ronnie Hillman's coming back. And I think they're going to force Peyton to throw. And I'm not sure if Bronco fans want that right now.
Right.
Because ain't nobody got time for that.
No, and their running game, I mean, C.J. Anderson is definitely a qualified back who can carry a lot of the load. And, yeah.
All right, so who you got for the win, though?
Oh, I had the Broncos winning.
All right, so you had the Ravens winning earlier. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, so your AFC title game is Ravens at Broncos, and then Packers at Seahawks in the NFC. For me, I have Colts at Patriots, obviously, and then how about them Cowboys going up Seattle getting the win?
Oh. Okay. Well, I can't wait to see how this works out next week.
Yeah, whatever combination, I'd watch that.
Oh yeah, I'll watch any of them. I mean, the teams that made it in are all fun to watch, and they're well matched against each other, and the games are going to be pretty awesome.
Except for the Panthers.
Okay, except for the Panthers.
That
They
being
look.
said, the Panthers are going to whoop some ass and win the Super Bowl just to troll the entire NFL. And it'd be a great day.
Well, I hope you get your America's game wish.
Absolutely. But, hey, we're pressed on time. We need to get out of here. Plus, we're stuffy. We need to get some green tea, some emergency, some lozenges, and all that other good stuff. She's Claire at the Claire-Bird23. I'm Andy Carlson at Andy Carlson Show. Say goodnight, Claire.
Good night, Claire.
All right, we out of here. Go watch some football. Go watch some
Yay.
basketball. Yay.
The music was created and produced by Deeb. To hear more of his tracks, check out soundcloud.com/Deeb.
In my opinion, that sucked.